In the distant past, in the ancient city of Elantria, lived a king named King Arion. He was revered and powerful, known throughout the kingdom for his wisdom and authority. In that same city lived a widow, Mira, who had spent her entire childhood and youth without ever thinking about or having any dealings with the king. She had lived her life comfortably, without needing to establish any relationship with him. One fateful day, tragedy struck. Mira's daughter, Alara, a 16-year-old girl full of life, fell gravely ill. In desperation, Mira rushed Alara to the town's hospital. However, to her shock, the doctors and nurses informed her that they could not begin treatment unless she obtained a written letter of approval from King Arion. In that moment, Mira was struck by the realization there was a king in her city who had the power to intervene. But a problem lingered in her heart: she had no prior relationship with him. She had lived her whole life without ever visiting or acknowledging him. Now, in her hour of need, she would have to seek his help. What should I do? She asked herself in panic. Then, with renewed resolve, she answered, I will summon the courage and go to the king. Mira made her way to the king's palace and knocked at the gate. She was eventually granted an audience with King Arion. Trembling, she explained her plight, seeking urgent help for her daughter. The king listened quietly and then simply said, I have heard you, but took no immediate action. Day after day, Mira returned to the palace, reminding the king of her situation, pleading for him to send the approval letter that could save her daughter's life. But each time, she left with no results, no response, and her hope began to wither. Eventually, her worst fear came true. Alara passed away before Mira could get the king's intervention. Distraught, Mira asked herself, where did I go wrong? Why did the king not help me? Was it his fault or mine? In that same city, around the same time, another woman faced a similar challenge. Celine, a longtime resident of Elantria, was also in distress as her 12-year-old son, Kale, fell seriously ill. The doctors at the same hospital delivered the same message: she needed a letter of approval from King Arion before they could treat her son. Without hesitation, Celine rushed to the palace. However, before she could even fully explain her situation, the king handed her the letter, already prepared, and even sent a palace guard with her to ensure the hospital acted swiftly. Kale was treated immediately and made a full recovery. The family returned home, rejoicing. This stark contrast puzzled the king's advisors. One day, they gathered the courage to ask him, Your Majesty, why did you act so quickly for Celine but ignore Mira, even though she came to you first? Isn't that unfair? The king smiled at their question and said,
I see your concern, but listen carefully. Mira has lived in Elantria for over 70 years, and in all that time, she never once sought me out. She never came to know me, nor cared to build any relationship with me. She only came when calamity struck, seeking my aid in her moment of desperation. But Celine, her life is different. From her childhood until now, she has always been close to me. She knows me well, and has consistently honored me with her presence. She is not a stranger here in my palace. I do not ignore the cries of those who know me. It is within my right to extend grace and favor as I choose, but my heart is naturally drawn toward those who have made an effort to know me.
Then, looking directly at his advisors, he added,
Remember this, the king's attention is always available, but it is not to be taken for granted. Do not think that one can neglect the king and then expect him to respond immediately in times of need. Make no mistake, the king can act as he wills, but his favor often rests with those who honor him consistently. Don't wait until you're in distress to seek the presence of the king. Be a constant dweller in his courts, knowing that grace and favor come naturally to those who live close to him. The greatest rewards come not to those who seek the king out of desperation but to those who cultivate a relationship with him long before the storm arrives.